don't.
Hello and welcome to the
I love it.
first edition of What's Up, OTel. And thank you, Rita, for the awesome 80s vibes. Like,
I should stay here. Like, what's up, OTel?
Well, yeah, I was laughing backstage because, okay, so confession, I put that intro together like half an hour ago, and I was like trying to find commercial music I could use, and I don't know, I was like, synth, let's find something synthy, and then yeah.
You're just amazing. You did a great job. Congrats. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like laughing because the music sounded a lot more dramatic as it's playing than when I was like choosing it. I was like, oh well, hope everyone's ready.
I love it.
But yes, hello.
Should we do some intros?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
This is our first one, so forgive us for being a little awkward. But we also want to keep it cash. So
We do. This is supposed to be fun. So yeah, I guess let's get started. So welcome to our very first What's Up, OTel. We are your OTel community managers, newly minted, taking over from Austin Parker, who has trusted us with this great assignment. My name is Adriana Vilela. I am calling from Toronto, Canada, a very snowy Toronto, Canada. We keep just getting more and more snow. The most Canadian winter we've experienced for a while. So fun. All right. And and I'm originally from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, but I've been in Canada for a very long time.
Well, hi everybody. I am Reese. I am coming to you live from Portland, Oregon, where it has been a very foggy morning, but it's been a pretty warm winter, I would say. Rainy, but warmer. Like a lot of flowers are already blooming, which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Wow.
And yeah, we would love to know where you are listening in from. If you want to just type that into whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, just let us know where you're coming to us live from. We always love seeing where people are tuning in from.
Yeah, and my name is Julia. I'm also originally from Brazil, but now I'm live from the DC area. Also, I'm a CNCF ambassador with Adriana. Adriana is also an ambassador. I'm part of the AWS community, an AWS hero. And I'm super excited and thankful for this opportunity to be part of this project as a community manager associate. I think, us three, we bring different experiences, expertise, everything. And we're really excited to bring, more things for you, for the community. We're already started planning things for the future, so keep an eye out. Yeah.
Yes. And I see we have some people tuning in there's someone from Minnesota, Poland. Is it Krakow? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And someone from LinkedIn.
Austria. I love the spec.exporter.linkedIn endpoint Austria. Love it.
Wow. Yeah, people are getting really creative with how they're.
I love it.
Yeah, so the goal with this, live stream was to kind of have it be like a fun space where we share some like a roundup of news from around the project. We bring on a couple maintainers just so, we can share more directly from the contributors themselves about what they're working on. In which case today we have Josh from the Weaver project and Juraci, who is I don't even know how you describe. He's like an OTel
star.
Yeah, he just has been in OTel for as long as I can remember. So to me, it's like a foundation. Super fantastic people, and we're very excited to bring them on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have like a little bit of news that we were going to share, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we talk a little bit?
I think we can bring them on, and then we'll share the news. Yeah.
News from them.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, like anyone who's listening, watching, please ask your questions.
Yeah.
Post them on the chat, and then we are happy to answer your questions. They can be about OTel Weaver, they could be about OTel, they can be about community management, anything.
Or if you have suggestions or feedback, leave them for
absolutely.
I'm kidding. No, share them as well.
Please share. We want to hear.
That's part of the reasons we wanted to have this monthly call as well, was to just have a live space where people can just share their thoughts, ideas, meet other people from the community, and let's grow this project and community together.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's bring on our guests.
Yes.
We have Juraci and Josh. Welcome.
Hello. Hey there.
Thanks for having us.
And please let us know where you're calling from.
I can go first. Yeah. I'm. Can you hear me? Oh yeah. Okay. So my internet froze for a second. I'm calling from Berlin. And we were talking about the Canadian winter there. We had something very, very strange happening in Berlin today. I saw an orange ball on the sky there. So I don't know what that was. Some people use the word sun, but I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, ours has been night too.
But I'm also from Brazil, so that's the three of us, I guess, here on this call.
Yeah.
I'm also CNCF ambassador. I'm part of the governance committee for OpenTelemetry, and yes, as Reese mentioned, I'm with the OpenTelemetry project since the very beginning. I'm from one of the founding communities of OTel, and since the beginning of last year, I'm running my own adventure at OT Garden. Yeah.
Yay!
Cool. Yes, thank you for your work in OpenTelemetry, Juraci. I'm gonna say that first, and then. This is actually awesome, this podcast, like really excited to see this. I'm Josh. I'm from Pittsburgh. So I'm actually between DC and Toronto. And for context, my daughter had a 2-hour delay this morning, and it is now gorgeously sunny and somewhat warm outside. So I don't know what the heck's going on, because we had so much snow and now it's all melted. So we're kind of between the two. Yeah. I woke up, everything was covered, 2-hour delay. Now it's sunny.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Wow.
What I do in OpenTelemetry. I'm on the technical committee. Sorry, my cat really wants attention. She knows when I'm talking. Yeah. I joined OpenTelemetry around 2020, and I've been involved, did a bit with metrics, and recently been doing a lot with semantic conventions and trying to build out our instrumentation ecosystem via the convention part of it. So that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, without further ado, I guess let's get the questions going.
Or actually, is there any interesting or exciting news project-wise that you want to share, or that you've heard and you're like, oh, this is interesting?
Do you mean across all of OpenTelemetry, or specifically the narrow thing that I really want to talk about? Because I have all of the above, but you let me know.
Let's start with all across.
Yeah.
Okay, so really cool. We just finally merged the profiling PR that adds dictionary support to the protocol for profiling. So this has been a big blocker. And I'm not going to steal any more of their thunder. Just pay attention to what they're doing, because that just merged, and that's like a big performance win for profiling. That was earlier this morning.
This is fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something else really cool that happened recently. I am excited. Someone added a bunch of UI and MCP work into Weaver, which we'll talk about later. But I just think it's really cool, like seeing that kind of stuff show up. You know, like the kind of creativity people have and the things they're doing. It's impressive.
What's the significance of the dictionaries that you were mentioning about the profiling PR?
Yeah. So in OpenTelemetry, we know that we like strings and lots of them. And we just kind of add all of them onto our telemetry, right? And we shove them all out every time. The dictionary is nice because it gives a huge amount of compression if you're using the same string. So in a single batch of OTLP, you can make sure that the strings are in a dictionary, so they're only actually stored once, and everyone else gets kind of an integer reference to it. Mm. And so for profiling specifically, they saw savings of like 50% on payloads by doing that, which is why we decided to add it to the protocol for profiling. Personally, I'd love to have this in the rest of the protocol, but that would be a breaking change. And that is a longer journey that we will eventually have to figure out. But, you know.
Cool. Thank you. Juraci, do you have anything to add?
So I do have a few. So we do a review of proposals, like SIG proposals and community issues. And one that stayed with me for a while in my head is the ZigSig, because of the name. So the ZigSig is like ZigSig. So Zig is a new language. It's like a infra type of language, and there's a proposal called ZigSig. And I love the name because it's such a I mean, I'm not judging the merits of the proposal. I just love the name. Like the ZigSig would be awesome to have. But yeah, no, I think. Yeah, I think a huge topic, at least from the governance committee for the past, I don't know, month or so, has been really the MCP proposal. I think we had quite a few discussions in the community on how to best handle MCPs in general. And I think we are now at a position where we have something that we can work on, we can move forward, and we can make progress, and then see where it goes, right? So I think this is one of the good ways that we can work in OTel, that we can have a process for things, but we can also give people the room and the freedom to work on the things that they want, and invite people to work with them on the things that they are seeing things interesting and so on. And I think the one thing that I like about the MCP proposal by Pavel is that now it focuses on one specific thing, and once it proves that it can do what it wants to do, then it can grow, right? I think inside the Weaver project there's also an MCP server in development, and I think the learnings from building MCP servers can serve as a blueprint for the other people in the project. And then eventually, I have opinions, and my opinions are recorded there. I think one of the opinions that I have is we should really provide one solution to users. But I think the good thing is we have solutions. Let's let the users say and use those solutions and then come back with the feedback. So this is one thing that I also enjoyed from I don't know, from the last month in OTel. And perhaps finally, Blueprint's proposal is also something that I'm very excited about. This proposal by Dan Blanco. I think it got merged a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really happy to see that moving forward, because it provides users something that we have not been paying too much attention, sadly, in OTel. We have been so busy building things down here that people are now confused about the many moving pieces that we have in OTel. And now blueprints go like 2 steps up and tell people, oh, you are doing X on that cloud provider, then here's a blueprint for you. here's what you should know. Here's the tech that you should be covering, that you should be learning about, and this is how you should be configuring, and so on. So I think Blueprints is really going to be very, very helpful to our end users eventually. So,
yeah. Juraci, do you have the pull request for the MCP proposal? Do you have a link to that? I can post that on here.
Yeah. In 1 second, I can find that.
In the meantime, I just fished out this is the QR code for the OTel blueprints that you were talking about.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Where do I share that? Oh, private chat.
You can put it, yeah. Thank you. Awesome.
There you go.
Grab that as well.
And if you are on the call and you want to get in touch with any of us, or you're interested in finding out any more about these SIGs projects that we're talking about, you can just search OTel Dash and you'll find all the OTel related channels. In CNCF Slack, I believe there's OTel Dash Blueprints. If you want to learn more about that. And then similarly, well, actually, I guess I'm not sure if there's like an OTel MCP here. No.
Not yet. Probably
Yeah,
will. Yeah.
So if you want to talk about the OTel MCP proposal, like the collector MCP, then the collector and perhaps the operator is the perfect place to talk about that.
Awesome.
But the Weaver MCP, then that's OTel Weaver.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes it easy.
Yes. So this one's for the OTel collector MCP. Just the QR code that I'm flashing here. So.
And we'll share all the links in the show notes after the show as well.
I think we can jump to Weaver now, right?
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a few questions to Josh, but if people have questions as well about Weaver, write them down here. I think when I was talking to Josh the other day, I had a few questions, and Josh. So all right, so a little bit of background, a little bit of context here. I'm the GC, the governance committee liaison for Weaver. That means every month or so, I get in touch with the maintainers of the SIGs that I liaise, and then I ask them questions like, what do you need from the GC? What kind of help do you need there? And one thing that Josh told me during the last check-in was, we are now at a stage of Weaver where we are generating code, and we need other maintainers within the OTel community to help us in writing the templates for the code generation. Yeah, that was you, Julia. Hopefully they're not looking for you. And so that's when we got this idea for, okay, so let's make a community call, a live stream or something like that, so that we can tell people, specifically other OTel maintainers, that we need their help. So Josh, here is a space for you. Where do you need help now? I think it's been a while now since the last that call for help, but where do you need help? Do you still need help from language experts and coming up and creating the templates for you? And what are those templates?
Yeah, actually, maybe I should start with just broadly what Weaver is, in case folks aren't useful with it. So I'm going to do a quick for me, maybe 5 minutes, the history of how Weaver became. So in OpenTelemetry, we had this thing called the specification, where you specify everything that you need to do. And inside of the specification was this one file that was semantic conventions that was like, hey, if you use this attribute, it should be this thing. That file became one of the most actively contributed pieces of the spec, to the point it overwhelmed the spec reviewers. And so we put a proposal together to say, what if we made semantic conventions a whole effort, and we moved it out into a separate thing, and we started building tooling around it. And when I say we, that predates me a little bit, so I want to qualify that this is a effort of a lot of folks in the community. It's been awesome to watch the progress. But as we moved it out, we realized the tooling needed improvement, and there was a vision from someone external to the community to build this system of what if we take the tooling and make it usable for everyone, not just OpenTelemetry, but any project whatsoever. And that it was Laurent Quarrel. We actually gave a talk in KubeCon EU last year called Observability by Design. And the idea is that what if we take this idea of semantic conventions and say up front, you're going to design your observability like you would an API. You're going to keep it stable. You're going to advertise it. You're going to share that API around, and you're going to have code generation that makes it easy to use. So we took the semantic convention tooling and moved it to this Weaver thing, and basically did a one-to-one transfer. And we started going through the ecosystem in OpenTelemetry and making sure this tool would ensure that you're conformant to the semantic conventions, right? Over time, semantic conventions became one of the more active parts in OpenTelemetry. Like, it's overwhelming to be a maintainer there. There's just lots going on, lots to pay attention to, and that sort of thing. And Weaver is our special sauce to kind of make sure that we have a scalable, compliant framework. Going forward, what we're trying to do now is federated semantic conventions, and that's where Weaver comes in. The idea would be, I own like instrumentation for Java, right, within OpenTelemetry. And this is actually happening today. They want to actually do a major version bump of their instrumentation because they want to change the name of the metric. Well, that's considered breaking. But if we can isolate it so they can make that change, notify everybody and say, hey, here's version 1, here's version 2, everything's gravy. If it's all in one big bundle, they kind of struggle to do that. And that's one of the things we're working on with Weaver, is this notion that you can say, cool, I'm going to make a repository that doesn't have to live in OpenTelemetry. It can be my own. And I can enforce the same rules about, stability and that kind of thing with it. But then I can go further and I can define something that actually extends from that and, does more. Where we're looking for help right now is we actually have that piece kind of out and ready in a preview release. And we're trying to rebuild the code generation capabilities of Weaver. So if you're not familiar with this, when you download, say, the Go contrib repo, and there's a semantic conventions library in there, that code is actually automatically generated from our schemas and definitions. Similar to how you think about like a gRPC thing where I define like, here's my messages I want, and then I get code automatically generated from it, protocol buffers, Avro, Thrift, those kind of things. We're doing that with telemetry. And where we'd love some help is actually expanding on that rapidly. A lot of that work was done by like 2 or 3 people in the ecosystem, and we did multiple languages, and we're not necessarily like, I wrote Java 20 years ago, a lot. I did some Java to do this code gen, and I'm sure somebody could do it better. I'm 90% positive. I think that, where we could really use help is that aspect of it, of we're trying to build out this ecosystem where you as an individual can actually define what you want your metrics and things to be. You can actually enforce that in integration tests that, hey, this server is actually producing this metric and it matches the thing I defined. And then you can also advertise it and send it to your UI and say, cool, here's all the names and things to show in like, highlights. If I hover over a field and I want to know what it means, the definition will be right there. Like, that's the ecosystem we're trying to build. And so started with SemConf, started with making sure OpenTelemetry actually is delivering the instrumentation we say we are via conformance tests and that sort of thing. And it became a generic tool that we want everyone to be able to use. But what we're missing is, I can help with Java and Rust. We need a lot of help to get Go out the door. Ludmila's helping with Python. We really need some language experts and coverage here to help us kind of make sure this is successful in all the different language ecosystems.
So Josh, basically what you're saying is, right now I have my telemetry.go file, and in that file I have a lot of constants, and you want me to help you convert those constants into things that are automatically generated by Weaver, so that I don't have to specify my own constants on my code anymore, and that can be provided by Weaver.
Yes. Yep.
Can we go back then one step and explain to me please tell me what is actually Weaver then? Like what is the problem that Weaver is solving, and why should I use Weaver?
Yeah. Okay, so the way we phrase this in our README in Weaver, which I'll put the link. I can't put the link in chat because I'm not logged in. But OpenTelemetry Weaver, we call it observability by design. And what problem are we solving is a few things that we're really focused on. Like if you are using observability and you're tired of having like alerts break because I bumped a version dependency and suddenly things are different, that is like the number one thing we're trying to avoid. Is like you have a successful deployment of things, you bump a version, you shouldn't be suddenly broken. You should actually know that that's coming and know what's happening, and be able to react to it, be able to update your system ahead of time, maybe even prevent it with your CI/CD pipeline. That's why we have them. So the second thing we're trying to do is actually inconsistencies with naming. In OpenTelemetry, there's a debate about, is it service? Is it application? Is it user? Is it end user? Is it authority? Like all these kinds of debates are things that, even OpenTelemetry has those discussions. Large teams have those discussions. Smaller teams might not have that because one person just does all of it, right? And man, do I love that world at times, but in reality, we all have to deal with each other. And so we want to make sure that we're agreeing with consistent names. This is becoming more important actually with AI and LLMs, right? Because when we talk about data between systems, we want to make sure, it's not necessarily that English or a specific language is becoming how we talk about things between AI. It's the vector space that gets embedded from that English. But in practice for humans, it's just if we use the same word and terms, the AI will use the same vectors and embeddings, and now we can communicate. So I think that's part of what we're trying to do here is we want to make sure the meaning of these things is included. The last thing is just, if you think you're missing critical information and you want to have coverage to say, am I getting the signals I expect out of this? You need a way to do an end-to-end test with that. So what Weaver does is we have a set of a few commands that are powerful for you. So we have one that is called Weaver check. And what this is I define what data I want, and Weaver check lets me enforce naming conventions on my data or other types of policies. This is how OpenTelemetry actually enforces that all of the names have dots in them, for example, and that the dots match our expected syntax. That if you define a metric and it has to have a resource attribute, that link actually connects, that sort of thing. That's what Weaver check is. We have Weaver generate. This is the thing that will generate code. So if you actually point at this definition of your attributes in YAML, you can have it go generate Go instrumentation. You can have it generate Go docs. In OpenTelemetry.io, if you look at semantic conventions, that website is 99% generated by Weaver, and there's a little bit of handwritten stuff in there. Actually, maybe it's like 70% auto-generated, and like we're trying to get it to 100%, but we're not there yet. And I'm optimistic with my 99, but we're getting there. So we have this notion of these packages, these template packages that you can use in Weaver, and you can specify I want to use the Go one, I want to use a Markdown one, I want to use an HTML one. The only ones we have written are the Markdown one that semantic conventions use, and then every language SIG has one kind of embedded inside of its repository somewhere. Like there's a semantic conventions Java repo where the Java stuff lives. Go, it's actually right in the OpenTelemetry Go repo. That's where those packages are. We're trying to move them into a central place where you can find them, see which ones you can use, and make them usable not just for OTel, but for everyone. Okay, and then where things start to get really cool, we have a live check tool. This is where Weaver will open an OpenTelemetry port, and you fire your data at it. And then it will fail if your data doesn't match what you said it should be. And it can give you a notion of how much coverage you have of the metrics that you expect to exist. So this is how we're planning to do kind of conformance and stability testing for the different pieces of instrumentation OpenTelemetry in the long run. We're starting to run some experiments right now with some of the Python Gen AI stuff of What if we have Weaver embedded as a Docker image, right in the integration test? We can fire stuff at it, and we can make sure this all, we can make sure it all ties together and does what it says it does, and we can get errors. There's some really cool things people are doing out there in that world, and Jeremy Blythe is the one driving that in the Weaver side. He could probably talk for hours about all the things going on. I see some amazing stuff, and I'm only like aware of it. You know what I mean? I'm not like in the middle of it, but there's a lot of cool stuff. The other thing we have is we actually have an MCP server that can talk to, like, the idea here is you use this when you want to verify semantics of telemetry with whatever else you're doing. So it's complementary. I think there was a question in chat about this. It's complementary to like the collector MCP. It's complementary to your observability vendor MCP. One of the first use cases that Jeremy showed us was he went in, and I think he was using Honeycomb. I forget which one of the vendors. And he said, hey, is my data conformant to semantic conventions? And it would just went and looked at it, and it was calling Weaver and doing checks against the current semantic convention. Said, no, this is out of date. This is okay, that sort of thing. Very cool, right? But it's that's a piece that's supposed to help with this if you're in that agent world. The idea would be eventually, if you're trying to design telemetry to begin with, this should be a piece of your toolbox that helps you define the data you want, figure out the semantics, depend on open telemetry as you need to pull in various pieces that you need, and flesh that out with you. That's the goal of that piece of it. I talked for way more than I wanted in my time box.
There's a lot to unpack there, Josh. But let me try to get a few things from what you said, and try to build a journey there. So I guess the first step is I see myself last year when I was a solo developer of the first services of OTel. And you mentioned when you are alone there, you might not need Weaver. And this is not true, because when I look at myself 1 year ago, I was developing different services, and one had org ID, another one has org_ID, and then suddenly it's org.id. Like, this is really the case. That was really my code. I look at that even today, and I see, you know what, we should really be following a convention there. So that is my current state, and I can definitely bet my money on that a lot of people watching here, they have the same problem. Now, this is the current state. How do I get there into a better place? And what it told me is I can then define what is my internal semantic conventions for my company. I can define those in a specific document, and that format you can clarify later, but I believe it is in YAML. Mm-hmm. Once that is done, I eventually, so not today, eventually I should be able to generate code out of that definition. And then when I'm developing my code, I use those constants. So not the ones that I defined on my source code repository for that service, but from a central place on my company. And then eventually, I can also use live check to match that definition that I've done on the first step with my running system. So my code is now merged into GitHub and released, and it's now a container, beautiful container running somewhere, producing telemetry. Then live check verifies what is there, like really, like the reality versus what is the expectation from my Weaver files. And eventually, what I could also be doing is using the Weaver MCP to again tap into the manifest or to the original file from the step one, and look at my observability provider and tell me whether the data that they have stored there is matching the definition. Is that the story that I'm looking at here?
Yeah, the only thing I'd caveat the last bit, be a little more creative there. Like it's kind of crazy how far agents can go. So like that's a use case, but another one could be you just want to know, hey, is there a convention for this? And ask, and it can do a search quicker in that semantic space it has for you, right? So it's more like an acceleration tool to like look through what's there as opposed to you searching, yourself. So, but it's more. My idea is it's a design companion for you when you're first saying, should I do organization ID? Because then it might say, actually, in OpenTelemetry, they recommend this other thing, So you can, at design time, kind of ask questions about what your ID should be. So it's like you were right. I'm just saying I think that MCP server might broaden with what it does. Yeah,
I love this idea because I mean, I see so many examples of AI stuff doing things, and I'm always amazed. My mind blows a lot when I just see, oh, it can do that. It can. But Josh, help me here. So what of that, how much of that is something that I can try out right now, today? Like, all of those are pains that I have. I need to solve those pains. Which pains are solvable today by Weaver?
Yeah, so Weaver's usable for all of these things, depending on how much friction you want in syntax and code gen. Today, if you want to do code gen, and it's not exactly the way OpenTelemetry is doing it, which is very particular to OpenTelemetry, you are able to be successful. Weaver is a completely open platform. If you're familiar with Jinja, which is a popular like HTML templating thing for Python, CodeGen is actually just Jinja templates. We have a new repository to collect these called OpenTelemetry Weaver packages. There's a demo docs template one that I wrote that doesn't do anything useful, that just makes a markdown file. We're trying to flesh this out over time, and we're migrating what we have in OpenTelemetry to there. But for you to do CodeGen, you can write a Jinja template that will take in the data model of the YAML. We actually consolidate it, enrich it, and like shove it all into a big bundle and throw it at you. But you can write these code generation templates and just generate your code in any way you want. So if you actually don't like how OpenTelemetry does it, you want to fully customize, we built for that from the start. And then we're trying to add the convenience features on top of this, right? So the hard stuff is there if you have like a really advanced use case. And so far, Weaver, people who are using it in anger in their companies are like either larger companies or people with really, really, really solid developers who are doing crazy stuff and are willing to go through the pain. And we're trying to work it down to be more and more, easy and low friction. So live check already works today. It works on everything except there's one caveat for spans in that they're really tricky to do correctly. There's a bug about fixing this in the specification, and we're working on that. The MCP stuff you can try out today if you want to try it with OpenTelemetry. Having multiple registries, that also works today. The only caveat I'll say around defining your telemetry, the current syntax was what we decided to do in like 2020 something, in like a quick Python script we threw together once and then evolved for 5 years. And we're making a V2 that's much nicer. The V2 isn't quite ready yet, but there's an automatic conversion from V1 to V2. So you can start with V1 if you want and get everything done. You can try out V2 if you want to see what it's like, but you should be able to be successful with both.
So it kind of sounds like.
Go ahead.
So it sounds like Weaver is something you can, try out no matter where you're at. Like if you're just starting out, or if you're already like a few years in and you're like, I still don't have, standardization.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're on GitHub or GitLab, I think this works with GitLab. There's an automatic GitHub action someone made so that you can wire it right into your CI/CD pipeline experience, which is what we're using for OpenTelemetry itself, because it's so much nicer.
That's so cool.
I've been really, another thing I want to shout out quick, the OpenTelemetry ecosystem, holy crap, most creative folks I've worked with. This is an amazing ecosystem. So I just want to call that out.
+1.
So just really quickly, because you mentioned there's like GitHub Actions, there's a GitLab integration. So is the recommendation then to use it as part of a CI/CD pipeline? Is there like, I'm assuming you can use it standalone as well? Like
yes, yeah. So we distribute it as both a downloadable executable or as a Docker container. Inside of like semantic conventions, we are trying to limit the number of dependencies and things you need. There's a lot of Python scripts in there, a lot of Node.js scripts in there, and it's craziness. So basically what we did was we hid everything in Docker containers. And we have a big make file that calls Docker containers because it's, it's 1980, I guess. So its make files are back in. So that's how that one's done. But a lot of the folks who are using this, outside of OpenTelemetry are installing the binary, using the binary directly. There's versions for most major operating systems. We did have to turn off the Alpine Linux with the muscle C library problems. That was a nightmare. We're going to try to turn it back on though. But that's the only distribution we don't have. Ironically, we have a Docker image, but we don't have a raw binary that could be used in Docker Alpine Linux. Anyway, there's technical reasons why, but it's confusing as hell for people. Yeah.
Josh, there's a question from Dan. So one comment from Dan, which is that KubeCon talk was a watershed moment for many that saw it and started to adopt. I mean, I mentioned that to you as well, that that presentation is the one that after watching, I said, oh, now I get it. Now I know what Weaver is about. So if you haven't, do go and watch it. But
Here's
the question
the
that Dan
QR code.
Yeah. The question that Dan has is, what do you envision as the boundary of MCP for OTel, both Weaver and collector? Where does the responsibility start and end without entering the backend analysis?
Yeah, so as you know, we've been talking about this with the governance committee, and the technical committee has also been talking about this. So I'm going to speak on myself, not on behalf of the technical committee here, but these are things that we have discussed back and forth. So there's some influence there. My inclination for agent things is right now, the goal we should have in all of our systems is to reduce the amount of context that anyone needs to do a particular task, and then start composing larger tasks from small context. It's how you work with people, right? Like all the things we need to do are that are good for agents and things are good for just general contributors. Get docs, get things kind of small and piecemeal. So like for MCP, what I think we really want to do is have targeted MCP actions and a targeted set of servers for different, personas, different activities. Weaver slices into one activity of OpenTelemetry. The collector is a different activity that might need some help there. There will be other MCP servers that need to exist to flesh this out. But there also might be straight up agents or straight up skills or whatever the next cool thing is that we have to react to define like help for people. And I really want to see the whole ecosystem embrace those pieces where they are. Like we've been across a bunch of the projects I'm in OpenTelemetry, we've been trying to figure out when to make agent MD, when to make skills, when to make sub agents, that sort of thing, to help people come in and contribute effectively, right? And that because so many people are using that to understand our systems and look through it. But I think really the battle right now is limit the context and make small things that are super effective, and then start building composition around that. And I think that's kind of how I see this playing out over time. So real narrow focused kind of MCP use cases, real narrow focused servers, and then scaling those across OpenTelemetry.
Thank you. I have no notes.
So we still have a few minutes. So if people have more comments, they can write down here in the chat.
Yes, please do. We have some non-Weaver questions as well in the chat.
So I guess before moving to those, I'd like to give Josh another minutes. Josh, what are the other things that we need to know about Weaver? What are the things that I didn't ask or we didn't ask you that we should have been asking?
That's a great question. I think you asked a lot of the really good questions. The one thing I'll say that maybe doesn't get a lot, maybe I didn't cover enough, was that these rules that we have, I think are critical for OpenTelemetry and the health of observability overall. And this is like the backwards compatibility rules. So we put a lot of time in semantic conventions, and we're using Weaver policies for this, where we're enforcing compatibility rules to make sure that when you go from major version to major version, you are not breaking your downstream users. Like we want to make sure your dashboards, your alerts, that setup that you make doesn't break, and that if it does, you know about it. Like, it's not to prevent it from ever breaking. It's to make sure you're aware of it, so that if you want to change org_id to org.id everywhere, great, you can do it, and you'll know when you're making the breaking change, and you'll know when that's rolling out, and you can update your dashboards and alerts ahead of time, so that you can keep your system healthy, right? That I just want to emphasize that problem, I think, is has been really hard, and has been hard to like get folks heads around a little bit, and make sure that we understand the implications of it.
I feel like you talked directly to me with the org ID thing. Yeah.
Last thing, if you're familiar with telemetry schema, that like thing in open telemetry, that it's like a URL and you don't know why it exists or what it is or why you would care. There's a proposal from Ludmilla, and when that is done, and this is our goal, that URL will actually point right at the Weaver schema for your data, and so you can share it everywhere. And if you're a company and you want to use internal URLs for that, you can make sure your system knows how to grab that schema and know what it is. And then the crazy part, and I don't want to say this because we're still working on it, and it works, is automatic migrations. We have a limited subset of automatic migrations where if you have version 1 and version 2, you can use that ID to know how to go from version 1 to version 2 automatically on the system side, right? It's still really limited. We handle just basic renames. But that, my expectation is, if we're successful this year, 2027, that's probably going to be something I'm working on, and it'll be the only thing I think about for a little bit, hopefully.
So Josh, if you allow me one final question, this is something that is touching exactly what we're talking at the beginning of your last answer. If I have a pipeline, a collector somewhere, and I need to enforce that something is happening or something is not happening, can I use Weaver there? And knowing the answer, the question would be, what are the solutions for the future in doing that?
Yes. Yeah. And so the answer to that is you can do so with what's the Weaver live check command, right? So if you have a collector, you can actually use Weaver live check and then actually siphon off data from the collector and send it to Weaver.
Right. That's a different process that runs either before or after the collector. I mean, I have a collector already. I just cannot have another piece of infra to manage. When can I use it inside the collector? Are there plans on using that inside of the collector? And giving you perhaps a bit more context, the solution that I've seen today is people are doing OTel statements to validate things. And what I've been telling them is, hold on to that. Don't do that anymore right now for greenfield applications. Wait a little bit more so that you can define those rules in Rego policies. Eventually, you should be able to reuse the Rego policies elsewhere. Is that happening?
I'm not aware of anyone actively working on that. That is something that people have discussed. I'm not aware of like a prototype or someone actively working on it. And again, I think what you're suggesting is awesome, and like that's a thing that we'd like to see. I guess I'll just say I'm not aware of people actively working in that direction today. It's definitely one of the goals, though. We want these things to be reusable. Another thing, if you want to keep with the OTTL temporarily, you might be able to code gen those rules from the Weaver config. Like you might be able to actually write a Jinja template that makes OTTL expressions with everything you need to enforce.
Good. I'm happy. I'm very happy.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we have some time for more questions if anyone wants to write in the comments. If not,
And we do have the two non-Weaver questions.
Yeah, you wanna pull them up?
Question: how to optimize resource consumption of the OTel collector?
What kind of resources are you optimizing for? CPU, memory, network. Like if it is network, so it just so happens that I was running some tests on the collector like for the past few weeks. And there's so many knobs that you can turn on the collector to tweak for things. Like if you are optimizing for throughput, which is what I was trying, you should definitely look at the batch sender or the batch feature on the exporters. So move away from the batch processor, goes to the batching queue for the batching features of the exporters themselves. That helps. Something else is gRPC is better than HTTP. So there was a this theory in the past that is HTTP better than gRPC or not? What I've been seeing in my tests is, yes, with gRPC, I can sustain 100K logs per second on a single collector, but not with HTTP. So HTTP gets stuck at some specific part. Queue sizes, they play a lot in the performance of the collector. So play with the queue sizes, play with the sending queue, a number of consumers as well. But it all depends on the machine that you are running on and what you are optimizing for. If you are looking to optimize for egress costs, I know it's too early. I know that Tigran is going to kill me for saying that, but take a look at Ceph. I've done some experiments with Ceph for metrics only, so Ceph is only for metrics, and the compression is just crazy. Like what in JSON takes, I think it was 164 megs or so, was 6 megs in Ceph. So if you're optimizing for egress and metrics, take a look at Ceph. But anyway, egress, use ZSTD for the compression. Like use compression in any type, but try to use ZSTD. That's my measurements is the best one for that. But then you pay a price on the CPU. Right? So if you're optimizing for CPU, then don't do compression at all. So it really depends, Shakti. So you have to define what are you optimizing for.
Thank you, Shakti, for the question, and thank you, Juraci, for the detailed answer.
And we had one more question. Are there any improvements in OpAmp that support a single supervisor managing multiple agents? That is a great question.
I'm
that's
hoping
the beef I have, actually.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to get back to you.
Yeah. Does anyone happen to know? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
So I don't have an answer to that specifically, but what I do have to say is a general comment that I feel the need for an OpAmp server in the community. A server that people can show off at KubeCons and not say, this is not production ready, don't use it. Like, we need something that is production ready, that people should use it.
I agree. Yeah, I was a little surprised when I was playing around with OpAmp, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually, I think Jacob Aronoff has an Elixir server, an Elixir OpAmp server that I haven't checked out myself, but it might be one worth looking into. I think it's got a little, it packs a little more punch than the little demo Go OpAmp server. I can try to find the link to that.
Yeah, and if there's questions that we get in the chat that we don't have an answer for at the time, we will definitely note it down and either try to reach you in Slack, or you can check back in the show notes and we'll try to have something there.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't think you're alone in wanting that feature. And if there's not already an open request on the OpAmp spec, we should make sure there is one. Yeah.
And I believe this concludes our first What's Up OTel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And here's the QR code for the OpAmp Elixir server. I did want to add one thing that, per my understanding, the OpAmp bridge on the OTel operator, I believe, has the ability to manage multiple collectors. That's my understanding. So it might be worth something investigating, because that basically takes the place of the supervisor, but still requires that you connect to an OpAmp server. So FYI, something really cool worth investigating for anyone who wants to mess around with OpAmp a little bit more.
And of course, now that we are ending the show, we have a couple more questions. Okay, look at them real quick. Is there anything that we can answer quickly, or we will get to these async?
So I can take John's question. I think there are so many caveats for gRPC, John, that for some companies, if you need to pass a firewall that blocks non-HTTP, that's a problem. If you need to do multi-tenant communication, that's a problem for gRPC because that's one long-lived connection. If you need authentication for every single message, that's a problem for gRPC. Then, so there are so many nuances there. In terms of the stability of the protocol itself, I would need more information because I don't think gRPC is unstable at the protocol level. I think it is used by so many things, by so many people. I would be surprised if it is unstable for the major languages and the major use cases. I would be happy to get more information about that. But what I do know is some companies, they do have proxies, firewalls, and so on and so forth that don't play well with gRPC. That's true. Some vendors, they don't support gRPC because they need to do authentication on a per request basis. That's also fine. But within your own infra, where you might not need that, it's perfectly possible to use gRPC.
Yeah,
I
have not heard of anyone questioning gRPC stability that I can remember. So I was kind of curious.
Yeah, it's really a pain in that place when you're a vendor accepting gRPC calls, because then you have to treat every single message and look into the metadata to do authentication. So like, it is more work on the vendor side of things. So I can see arguments against gRPC, but not against the protocol itself. Like anyway, yeah.
Does anyone know anything about zero trust workload identity management?
Do I know things about it, or do I know what our plans are? Those are different things.
Plans.
Yeah. I'm not as involved with like the collector folks for receivers and exporters. I know about zero trust workload identity management. So that was something I'd have to follow up with like folks that I know are involved with the collector. Apologies. I'm not like nested in. It's a great question though. I just want to call it out. Like that is something we should try to answer.
I would encourage you also to post your question in the OTel Collector Slack channel, because I'm sure if you have that question, others probably do as well.
And then final question is, how often are these to take place? We are planning every last Wednesday of the month so far.
Yes.
So hope to see y'all next time. You can always
Please.
find us on Slack. We're around.
And we are planning, I think, to do a live version of this at KubeCon.
As well, yes, KubeCon, which is
TBD. Yeah, and I wanted to leave folks also with some QR codes to scan. This one for anyone who is attending the KubeCon Maintainer Summit. Reese and I are going to be on a panel together for the Maintainer Summit. We talk about building OTel Community through our work in the OTel End User SIG. So if you're planning on being there, come see us. And we're going to be joined by Josh Lee. And then also check out this is the schedule for the KubeCon co-located talks, events. And of course, we have a bit of a bias. We want you to go to Observability Day and see all the amazing observability and OTel themed talks at KubeCon.
Thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us. Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
Being here.
It's been fun.
And we'll see everyone next month. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.